This is the Noob from Battlefield Friends, and you're listening to the Don't Revive Me Bro podcast.
Dude, you don't have to yell.
I'm not yelling!
All right, welcome to another podcast with Don't Revive Me Bro. This is No Zoop for you. I've got WDA Punisher with me, not on video, but he's the revive symbol right there. And of course, we've got the one and only Zachulon back, developer for Visceral.
Hello.
Zach,
hey, Zach.
welcome back.
Hey.
Seems like we just had you on, but we've got some big changes coming our way, and that's why you're here. So let's not beat around the bush. There's a giant elephant in the room in the way of TTK, right? So
Wow, okay. Well, we released some details on Pack 4 too. So last time I was on, I think I really couldn't talk about much, but now I think we released the map names and some other little stuff. So
absolutely. So we've got that too that we'll talk about. The final DLC coming up, Getaway. Good things in store. So first, I know TTK has been huge. Time to Kill. You've got people against it. You've got people for it. Some people say it's not enough. Some people just want what they want so that they can kill everyone unchecked. Let's get your take on this, because I know this is a huge deal. And so why are we taking this path right now this late in the game?
okay, it's like really quite a touchy subject right now.
Yes, it is.
So TTK, for people that don't know, stands for Time to Kill. And generally when people refer to TTK, they're talking about the time that it takes from when they start the engagement to when their enemy dies, or when their enemy starts engagement with them and they die. How fast do I die when someone starts attacking me? Hardline was always meant to have a fairly fast time to kill. The game in general, a big theme of the game is speed. You know, your player moves faster, our sprint's faster, you can run faster with the pistol, our vehicles are faster, the whole thing is about speed, and we knew that our time to kill was going to be a little bit faster. When you compare time to kill on the console versus time to kill on the PC, what you find is that on average PC time to kill is much faster. There's a variety of reasons for this. Mainly it comes down to the controls on PC are just faster to control. When you see someone when you're playing on PC and you identify that you want to shoot them, because of the interface, the mouse and the keyboard, you can quickly engage them. On the controller, it's a little bit slower. You're using a controller. You don't have the accuracy of the mouse. You don't have the recoil control of the mouse. Even things like vaulting, you know, your thumb on a controller is what you use for aiming. It's also what you use for vaulting. So you have to like switch. So like when you vault, you have to relinquish aim for a split second there, right? Like PC players probably don't think about that because you do it with a completely different, you do it with your left thumb, you're aiming with your right hand on PC, right? My point being, and we can talk forever about why PC is faster, but the control is different. So a lot of people on PC specifically have complained about the time to kill and said that it's too fast. I play on both Xbox One and PC, although I mostly play on Xbox One. When I do play on PC, I agree. It is very fast. It is quicker than I'm used to on console, and I've played well over 300 hours on console. I know what it feels like. So we put some general tuning changes up on the CT, which is our test environment. It's separate from the main line of the game, just to see what people would think about a higher time to kill on the PC version, to bring it. And the goal of this is not to make the PC version higher. It's actually to make the PC version the same as console, because TTK isn't a stat. It's a general feel thing, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that sort of catches you up on the issue. So since we put up this change, which first off, I've been super clear, the change is it's a general sweeping change. We just wanted to see if, hey, at average engagement distances for each weapon, does it generally feel slightly better? We've decreased bullet damage a little bit on every bullet. How does it feel? Let's get some feedback on the general feel. It's by no means meant to be a final pass of this is what it could feel like. When you do something as general as that, you get outliers that you have to then go tune separately. They're completely different than, you know, some of the more popular guns. So as soon as we did that, we started gathering initial feedback, and the feedback has been all over the place. I think a lot of people could agree that they felt like Hardline was too fast, but they don't necessarily agree with what good would feel like. Everybody has sort of a different opinion on what good would feel like. So we're trying to take all that into stock, and we're still working on it. That's one thing that we're still working on, is playing around with the tuning on the PC. But that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah,
I
go
won't
ahead.
type it. I won't type anymore. No, I was responding to some people, and I guess
It's
my
a
keys are,
long answer.
my cherry reds are a little too loud. So yeah, we'll give you a break from talking, because I know that was a pretty big mouthful right there. So basically, you find that Xbox and PS4 things are pretty good right now, and I honestly, Xbox One, I think I played the beta on Xbox One, and I felt personally that Time to Kill was pretty good. It's what I've been playing first-person shooters on for a while. Switched over to PC, and yeah, average PC noob, I pretty much got owned right away. Are you finding that certain weapons or engagement lengths are, I guess, a little off kilter in PC? Is it the kind of medium to long range, or is it the short to medium range? What is kind of sparking this?
There's not like any one category necessarily. I think that, again, this comes down to like different people have different perceptions of the way the game feels. And so, to be honest with you, the feedback is all over the place. And most of the time when I ask for feedback, people that reply with feedback, usually someone else replies to them, arguing with their feedback. It devolves very quickly into name calling and what have you. So I think in general, it's probably like the shorter distances where you really feel it, especially as a longer or medium distance player. When you get into the shorter distances, you really feel like, oh, that was quick. And look, some people, that's the other thing, is like there's a large contingent of people that have come out since and all I did was mention the change on CTE, and not that many people have gone and played it. A number of people have, but it's not like some huge number of people have tested it out. Way more people have an opinion on it than have actually tried it, right? But some people have come out and they're like, don't change anything, it's perfect, right? I mean, again, it comes down
Right.
to preference. I think one of the hardest things with Hardline is that we constantly get compared to Battlefield 4 because it's the other active Battlefield game right now. And in some ways, we just don't have the same intentions as that game. So people, they think they know what we're trying to do, and it's just not what our game is. Our game is, it is something, it's different, right? So everybody has sort of a difference of opinion, right? Like the Battlefield 4 players think it's too fast, but the Counter-Strike players think it's too slow, right? Like it just depends on what game you play or what your personal preference is. So we're working on it. We're still working on it, but we have to take into account a lot of different feedback at this point.
So obviously there was a loud enough voice on the PC side, at least, that you felt it was necessary on the PC side to kind of tweak things, right?
Necessary. I felt like, sure, we'll give it a try. It seemed to be that the people that were mostly using the CTE were the same people that were asking for that anyway. So why not give it a try? I think it's dangerous when you listen to just online feedback, because the truth is that it's a very small percentage of people. Even when you have, I can have hundreds of replies to a tweet that all agree on one thing, and someone could say, oh, look, see, everyone agrees. And the truth is that, man, even if you get 200 people saying that, that's still, it's nothing. Like, it's a really small percentage of people, right? And it doesn't necessarily represent how everybody feels. So you have to take that into account. So in the end, the truth is that, look, I'm not in charge of the specifically weapon design. I'm the producer. My job is to enable the guys, the designers, to make the best choices and get them feedback, et cetera, et cetera. So in the end, we go with what the designers feel is the right thing, right? But right now, the design group tends to agree that, hey, it does feel a little quick on PC, so let's try out some things to see if we can't tweak it a little bit to bring it in line with console. And so that's what we're doing right now.
All right. Can you kind of go into maybe, I guess, the inner workings of that, maybe stat-wise, how it's going to feel different? I mean, are we talking, whereas it took one bullet before to kill someone, it's 2 bullets now, or I guess we're talking fractions of seconds here, but can you just
Yeah,
kind of give us a
so
feel?
sure, like mostly what we'll try to do, so there's not one knob, like, hey, this would be amazing if we wrote some advanced algorithm that we could tune one knob. And it was like time to kill, turn up the time to kill by zero point 0.2 seconds on average. And it would go in and magically tune all the parameters of the game. But everything in the game is a factor. The speed your character moves, the speed that the animations where you bring up the weapon from hip fire to ADS, like all these little tiny things affect this, right? It's not just, bullet damage, recoil, like these things, so we're going to try to address it through primarily bullet damage. But that doesn't mean we're going to have to touch other things here and there too in certain instances, but we'll try to take care of the majority of it through bullet damage changes. So in general, some of the faster killing guns, it might take one extra bullet. Now you have to take into account whether it's an automatic or semi-automatic weapon, and what its rate of fire is, and all that means we'll tune every gun slightly differently in some ways, and in some areas one change will take care of multiple guns. It just depends on what the gun is.
Okay, gotcha. And I just want to give you all out there watching, a little heads up. If you've got any questions about Time to Kill also, please, by all means, start feeding them our way so I can ask Zach as well. I know he's watching right now too, but I want to be sure to get your questions out there because this is a time for you all, because you all are the ones this is affecting. So, whether you like it or not, just kind of throw in your 2 cents or ask your questions so we can get them out there. Zach, one thing I'm curious about, because we know that PC, I guess I don't want to say a very unique group of people, but it is a smaller fan base. It's people that are very passionate about the game, maybe not a large, gigantic amount, but obviously it's a very tight-knit group. So, obviously this is something you're doing. You don't want to alienate these people. What is your feeling? Do you think these players are going to agree with the changes, or do you think it might be met with a little kind of some loggerheads going on right now? What do you think?
I think that in the end, like we'll all figure it out. I think that one thing about weapon tuning is that every time you change weapon tuning, people think it's like a major thing when it happens, and then it sort of like dies down, and then you change it again, it becomes a big deal when it happens, and it sort of dies down. But every time you change it, people seem to forget that like we can change it. Like, so a lot of, no matter how much we test it at work, most of what we do at work is like make the game. We spend most of our time making the game. So when we go live with any change, we're immediately getting the volume of feedback that we immediately get. Within the first day of releasing any content, we immediately get more testing and more feedback on it than we would over the course of months and months with, our team playing and our QA team playing it. You're talking about, there's a lot of people that own Battlefield Hardline, so you're getting a lot of feedback and a lot of telemetry data back within the first couple days. So I think the main thing I would encourage people to do is just give us feedback. That's the fun of where we're at with the game right now. I don't think that anybody, the freaking out and the yelling on the internet and stuff, I think that as your game gets older, and our game's been out for almost a year now, it'll be a year next month, been out for 11 months right now. As your game gets older, like it becomes less, I mean, let's be honest, most games that released a year ago from other companies, they don't support their games. Other companies don't do like EA is doing now. They drop their games, and they're not listening to their community and tuning weapons and continuing to try to tweak the game to make it not only better, but to give people different experiences. That's part of it too, is like for a lot of people, especially on the PC, this kind of stuff is fun. When we're tinkering around with little settings and some people will play this game and not even notice. I can change gun tuning every week, and there's a lot of people that actually wouldn't notice. Maybe in the back of their head they'd feel like something feels a little off, but there are other people that really like to dive into it. And so I think that it's fine. Just give us feedback, and we'll continue to listen, right? I don't worry about people getting angry at this point too much. I mean, we're so far into the game's life.
So Here's a question that has come
Yeah,
from the Peanut Gallery.
bring it.
Will snipers and shotguns be affected by the TTK changes? So I know, shotguns can be one-hit kills up close, so I don't know how
Yeah.
much that can affect it, but aiming, everything else, how's TTK playing to these weapons?
Yeah, those are probably the trickiest ones, right? Like it's kind of easy to compare like a battle rifle with an assault rifle or even an SMG. It's the fewer weapons you have, the easier it is to sort of balance them and give them their own role. And when you're trying to make sweeps to like or changes to huge categories, it's tricky. So admittedly, the shotguns and the sniper rifles are the trickiest. I don't know what the final answer is. Those are the ones that we still have to figure out. Those are the ones we're still playing with right now. I think that like snipers probably trickier than shotguns. I think the tricky thing with shotguns is they really are firing a bunch of pellets, and so it matters like how many pellets hit you. And so there's sometimes people are moving so fast when they're firing the shotgun, and you fired a gun before. You can't be in a full sprint and fire a gun. Like that's not going to work out really well for you in real life, but you can in a video game. But then they'll get mad and they'll say that's not realistic that I didn't one hit kill that guy as I sprinted by him. And it's like, man, you're sprinting by a guy while you're blasting a shotgun and not all the pellets are hitting. And so we get a lot of complaints about shotgun balance on both sides of it, depending on playstyle. We'll figure them out. I believe that when you get really up close to a guy and you blast him with a shotgun, you should kill him. And I believe that when you're using a sniper rifle and you're aiming at a guy's head and you pull it and you brain the guy, you should kill him. Beyond that, it's all about distances and various speed tuning and all this stuff that we're still figuring out.
All right. Good enough. I want to throw up there something that Bust Duster had said on Reddit, and I guess he is for keeping the way things are on Time to Kill.
Okay.
And he's happy with how it is in PC. He likes Hardline the way it is. He likes the faster TTK, and that's why he's playing it. What would you say to him right now?
I would say to him that I think we tune guns all the time, and that's actually what we're doing here. It becomes a big deal when we say, "Oh, we're tuning TTK," as if we're shifting one knob that's going to, make the entire experience different. And I would also say we haven't done anything yet. All we've done is something on CTE, and I haven't even said that we're officially going to do this. We're playing around with the idea. So I'm glad that guy's giving us feedback. We're taking that into account as well. If we did go forward with changes that we're thinking about, I don't think it's so radical. Like our game's not going to feel like Battlefield 4. It's still going to be the fastest Battlefield time to kill. As far as I'm probably just thinking about Battlefield 4 and then 3. I believe we're a little faster than 3 in general. It would still be that way. So it's just we're doing tuning passes on guns, and we do that stuff all the time. We're doing a tuning pass on the guns in the next patch, regardless of whether we decide to increase TTK or not. But please try it before you get upset.
So really, when you say, well, when everybody thinks TTK is changing, it's not necessarily the entire mechanic. It's just small tweaks here and there with certain guns. Certain guns you think might kill faster than they should, maybe SMGs, maybe the M16, I don't know. I'm just, hypothetically.
Yeah,
so,
hypothetically, yeah.
Yeah,
It's gun tuning. It's gun tuning. That's what we're doing. We're not going to change the player movement speed. We're not going to change anything. I'm not going to mess with anything regarding speed because I feel like that would change the way the game feels. So I know you say TTK is a speed thing, but it's not. It's going to be a damage thing in this case. If we do anything, again, we're still taking all the feedback, right? Like there's a lot of people that agree with the guy that you just read his comment for Reddit, and those people feel like, hey, people were complaining, and so of course the people that don't like it, they're going to complain at you all the time. The people that do like it don't send me a tweet every day going, hey bro, TTK feels great, #, good job, right? Like they just play the game. You have a lot of people that play the game that they're not contacting me, so it's weapon tuning.
So really, that's the important thing to take away. So to assuage everyone's fears out there, it's not so much TTK, it's just little tweaks here and there that not necessarily even going in, which I'm glad you've cleared up too, because if I weren't to have talked to you right now, I probably would have thought that a whole lot more was going on when it's not really,
I mean, have you played on the? Have you checked out the CTE by any chance?
I've not had a chance yet, but I'm
I
going
have.
to.
Okay, so
All
what do
right,
you
Paul.
think?
Go ahead, Paul.
Let's get your opinion because I don't know either. Like I'm kind of it's a weird for me. I'm behind the scenes here where like I'm so heavily like involved with this game that it's hard for me to have perspective. So the floor is yours. Please
Uh,
talk. Me and my
well,
buddy are gonna listen.
I tested ARs. A couple. Hey, Shaq in the house. Shaq in the house. No, I've tested some of the ARs and a couple of the sniper rifles, and just to make things simple, it reminded me a lot more of BF3, but I still think, like you said, it actually is the time to kill is still a little bit faster than what Battlefield 3 is, but it felt solid to me. I really liked it a lot. I didn't have any issues with it. I thought it felt good. I thought guys died. I mean, it was I think 4 bullets inside of 10 meters was what I was seeing, and once I got outside, it was like 5 to 6. The only thing that I saw that it was a little more affected, I saw like I think it was the RPK. I think was one of the guns that seemed like it took a lot of bullets to kill somebody from a long distance. Was kind of surprising. I think I shot a guy 9 times. I don't know. I recorded video on it, and I was getting ready to put a video together. But overall, though, I mean, everything still felt good. Sniper rifles was 2-shot kills unless you headshotted. You headshot them, they died. So they felt fine to me, and we were testing all kinds of ranges out to, I would say, about 100 meters, and I was happy with it. So I think people are expecting, a BF4 style TTK, and they're not happy with that. But in all actuality, which I was, putting this out there during the week, was that, I mean, you're talking maybe 1/10 of a second to 2/10 of a second difference in what I'm seeing, in real time right now compared to this way the game is set compared to the CTE the way it's set. I mean, it's just not that big of a deal. And when you actually play it and you check it, you'll see for yourself that, hey, it's really not that drastic of a change. So I'm happy with it. Like I said, the ARs feel good to me. It's, like I said, tad bit closer to what Battlefield 3 is now in terms of the time to kill, but it's still solid. And I think, for the most part, people will like it. You're always going to have the haters out there that are going to be upset, and just have to deal with it.
So there you go. You've got Paul right here, Punisher, who he obviously plays it a lot, and he's probably a fairly more accomplished first-person shooter gamer than I am. I probably fall into that category where when I play, I doubt I'm going to feel the time to kill changes like he does. So, again, like you were saying earlier, not everybody's going to feel it, right? Especially your average,
Yeah.
like me, type gamer.
Unless you play the game every single day and you play it, hours on end, you're really not going to notice a difference. You really aren't. It's the people that are into CTE, that are into retail, that are going back and forth and testing it, that'll know the difference. And even then, like you said, it's not that drastic of a change. So,
So that brings up another question. If the changes are that small that people aren't going to notice them, is this something that you're relying on data like internally to just kind of tweak to your own where you all think it should be?
Yeah, I think that even when you really break it down, if you turn on Battlefield Hardline and even Battlefield 4, which is a very high time to kill, and you put them side by side and you shoot a guy, you're talking about, you know, you're not even talking about full seconds. You're talking about like fractions of seconds. So I think we have internal data where we can see sort of what the average life is, where people die. We can see a lot of things, and we can break it down by platform. So you're trying to like sort of, that in general, okay, people are dying a little bit faster on PC, and you're trying to manipulate that number in a weird way through, it's a lot of changes is the thing. It's a lot of weapon tuning changes. It's just small tweaks, but all sort of in the same direction. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's such a small thing.
So are PS4 and Xbox One virtually identical then, in their own
Yeah,
respective type?
there's no really, as far as from what I can tell, there's no, like, one controller isn't faster than the other, at least not in any way that shows up in telemetry data.
Now, not trying to open a can of worms here, but
Let's open
the
it.
whole race and everything. Yeah, let's open it. Um, Mouse and keyboard. Does that have a lot to do with the time to kill?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think mouse and keyboard is the biggest. It's the control. The biggest difference between console and PC is the control. Now you can bring up, like, that, oh, hey, with PC I can set up the specs the way I want. Theoretically, you can get slightly better graphics, you can get better frame rate, all that. But the core difference in gameplay is the control input. And it was kind of like I was talking about earlier. When I'm playing on the console, I'm using two thumbs and my two, pointer fingers, whatever those are called. Okay, now when I'm
Index,
playing on
index,
my index
index.
fingers, okay, so
Yeah,
I'm
there
using
you go.
4 digits. I have 4 points of input that I'm using. I'm aiming and firing with my index fingers. I don't, like, switch up. That's also how I throw my grenade and how I spot. I move my character with the thumb, and then I move my aim with the other thumb. I also have to vault and reload with that same thumb. Okay, so on PC when I'm playing, I'm using every finger on my left hand, and I use 2 fingers on my right hand, which is probably, I'm sure there's guys that, maybe I use 3. No, I use 2. I just click, but that's probably, I'm probably some chump, right? There's people that have all these buttons on my mouse, right? Look at this mouse. I got this Battlefield Hardline mouse. It's got all these buttons. I don't know what these buttons are for, but I'm sure, well, I do know what they're for, but I don't have them mapped to anything. When I want to do stuff, I use the keyboard. Uh, so my point is that I can do everything a little bit faster on the PC when I'm running with my controller, right? So I have a controller, bust this thing out, and I want to vault. Well, it's the same spot where I have to aim. So when I go to vault, or when I go to reload, or when I go to switch weapons, I'm having to relinquish control of my aim for just that fraction of a second. But that fraction of a second is a difference. That's why you wouldn't want to mix console players and PC players. I'm sure some games have tried it. I'm sure it's been a disaster for the console players because the PC input is just faster. It's a fact. It's not. There's no debate there. And I'm not saying PC is better, and I'm not saying console is better. They're different inputs. It's a
No,
completely different experience,
I
right?
can attest to that. Going from Xbox One to PC, it's brutal at first. There is a very steep and drastic learning curve moving from one to the other, and unless you're bouncing back and forth between the two, you get good at one, and you're not as good as the other. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that it's again, like, different people like different things. It's sort of the difference between soccer and, like, hockey or something like that. It's neither one is better. I'm not saying that, oh, one sport has better athletes than the other. They don't. They're all, like, top end athletes. It's not. It's it's just different ways to control. They're doing the same thing. They're putting a thing in a net, right? It's just they're doing it in different ways, and that's what the difference between a controller and a keyboard mouse setup is.
Which that would really, I'd really throw in another game out there. I'd be interested to know the stats, the internal workings for God. Why can't I think of that game's name right now? The soccer car game.
Rocket League.
Rocket League. Why the hell could I remember that? But you've got PS4 players and you've got computer players mixed in together, PC gamers. So
Yeah, cross-platform.
yeah,
Interesting.
cross-platform.
I
I would be
wonder
very.
because I think that driving is easier on a controller because of the sticks.
It's
Now
I think
maybe it's
so
just
too.
it's easier on PC to play controller Rocket League than it is on keyboard.
Really.
It's brutal on keyboard. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So I'd be interested in any data that they pulled on that, which obviously we're never going to see. But you all out there right now, if you've got any more questions for Time to Kill, please by all means throw them up right now. I don't want to dwell on this topic too long. We've got other stuff to cover. We've had questions about the syndicate attachments and everything, and I want to get to those. But please, by all means, throw them up there right now before it's too late. We've got X Factor saying he's for longer time to kill.
This is, by the
Meaning
way,
that equals a greater skill gap. That's an interesting take on it there, right? As well, saying that the longer the time to kill is, the higher the skill gap. That's another take that I haven't seen yet, or no one else has brought up.
That's what I've been. That's what I've been saying now for a while. The same
it's
thing.
definitely.
It's going to
I
make your
think that
more skilled players stand out as compared to your average, pub player. Your skilled players are going to definitely be able to take advantage of the higher TTK.
I would probably agree. Listen, here's the other thing, guys. Like what we're talking about, like nobody's doing this. Like nobody's even wants to recognize that because of the different inputs, their games behave differently on the different platforms, right? Because it's a ton of work. It's a ton of work to like try to maintain separate tuning when your goal is not to actually have the game feel separate, but actually have the game feel the same. The skill thing is it's an interesting point because I think probably like the twitch reflex becomes less important. And so when you say skill, I guess you mean like the ability to aim and recoil control, right?
Correct.
Is that what we mean? Okay, so
and then along, and it goes into that too, is a guy that takes the game more serious is going to go in and do tweaks to his rig in terms of sensitivities, that sort of thing, as opposed to the average guy who really doesn't care. He just wants to go in and play the game.
That's interesting. Okay, so here's a question that I have that I think about a lot when it comes to this specific thing, is that if we increase that skill gap, does it not in a way like decrease the importance of tactics or teamwork? Because right now, like if you flank somebody and your time to kill is really fast, and all you have to do is point at them, click, and they're dead, right? You immediately kill them. There's no time for them to react. Whereas if the time to kill is longer, then those players that are so fast at reacting and they're so good at like aiming and recoil controlling, they're less scared to get flanked. They don't have to worry about tactics as much because they can overcome that tactical disadvantage with their skill, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think a lot of I've heard the argument that people complain that they can't react or get behind cover in time because people are killing them so fast. They don't have a time to react to them being shot in the back or whatever. I've heard that argument.
I guess from a certain point of view, it takes out the I guess I'll call it the luck factor with a longer time to kill, because anyone can spray and pray, and if you have a very short time to kill, I don't want to say that necessarily rewards people that spray and pray, but it does certainly make it easier for them, whereas a slightly longer time to kill will reward the person that has better accuracy and isn't necessarily just coming out there and, firing blindly, getting those lucky 2 or 3 shots on there when someone else is, completely on chest the entire time with perfect aim. So I can kind of see that argument right there.
Especially in like firefights with like multiple targets, because, and admittedly I'm not very good at PC, and I'll get a lot of kills where it's obvious that all I did was I caught the last bullet, right? Like I just sprayed through the scene and they had already taken damage from somebody else, and I just caught the last bullet and got the kill, which I guess I'd be less likely. I mean, I guess in a group environment it wouldn't really matter. If they have low damage and I happen to catch them, then I'm going to catch them, right?
Right.
That's interesting. Maybe I would get more kills because they would actually stay alive that split second longer, which would just give me a higher odds of catching them when I'm randomly spraying bullets into the crowd.
All right. So someone was that's not me typing. Just to let you know.
That was me. Sorry, I'm on 2 PCs. I got to switch between my stream rig and
mine would probably be a little louder. I think
Shaq,
mine were.
Shaq, did you want to chime in? Shaq's cool with the time to kill.
Shaq.
Shaq's a cool breed, man.
All right, so let's look for some questions here. Any tick rate default changes on consoles? Not many 60 ticks on PS4.
Man, I don't know. I sent like an email saying I want all servers to be high tick rate, but I don't. Someone else works on that, and no one's here today. It's a holiday, so I can't just yell over at them and ask them that. I know that I asked for as many of them. I said, there's better servers. I want as many of the servers to be as good as possible. I don't know a lot about servers. I work on like content stuff.
All right.
But I request that.
How about, and here's something we didn't touch that kind of plays into TTK a little bit. Are there going to be any tweaks to weapon damage drop over distance? Is that something you're looking at as well?
I think that's part of the whole update. is that when we change damage, that stuff changes as well, and then we have to go back and sort of like, in some areas we have to like tune that to make up for the fact that like, oh, when we reduced overall damage, it got reduced too much or not. Depends on what we end up doing. I don't know. Like, that's the other thing, is just because we've talked a lot about that one specific sort of tuning change, but we're still doing a lot of like looking into the tuning right now. So I don't want to say that anything specifically is going to happen with the tuning, because the designers are not done.
Are there any weapons in general they're going to see bigger tweaks than others that you can mention or want
Yeah,
to throw out there?
we definitely, the M82 was a problem.
Yeah.
I thought that the 1887 was a problem. I guess I was being a baby, because when I asked, like, everybody seemed to agree with, our designers were like, no, man, they're totally fine, and I felt like they weren't. But sorry, I'm just this is me typing now. I'm just checking my notes.
Yeah, so the 1887 is going to remain the same for the most
Yeah,
part.
they're right. Like, I feel like it does a little more damage at distance, and it does, but it does take longer. When you look at the numbers, it does have like a long reload time. So I don't know. The other thing is, it's kind of the flavor of the month right now, that gun. So like, I'm getting kill with it a lot, and when I see guns that I get kill with a lot, that's actually one of my first warning signs usually, is when that stuff happens. I go, okay, something's up.
Right.
What do here? I'm just trying to
I
remember. I
thought
noticed.
I like the 1887 the way it is. It's a fun gun. I didn't think I was going. I'm not typically a shotgun guy, but it's kind of old school. The way it's designed, it's freaking good, man. I enjoy playing it.
Yeah, we're gonna tune the M82 a little bit. There's a bunch of stuff we're doing, but just specifically the ones I'll mention are, we're gonna make the jury a little bit better. That one hits close to home. That's why I'll mention it. And then I'm pretty sure we'll do something to the Uzi. The Uzi's mean right now. Maybe something with the accuracy with the Uzi or something. So, but again, I'm looking at like notes right now. They're not done. So I don't want to say we're tuning and then not be done.
I want to shift away from guns for a second, because this is another topic that's been very sensitive amongst the population, and that's involving attack helicopters.
Oh.
Attack helicopters has been a very sensitive subject. So can you kind of give me the dev perspective as to why you think they're overpowered right now, and why their impact?
I don't think they're overpowered. They are what they are.
Okay.
They have an ability, and they have counters. I don't like the gameplay that they bring to our specific game. In some maps, I think it's okay. Like there's like in Dust Bowl, like I don't mind it, because it's such an open. They bug me in downtown, to be honest, because they hide behind the buildings and stuff. I don't think it's OP. It's just that it's not necessarily the flavor that we wanted with when we made the base game and we started making DLC. It just we like the other choppers better. I don't know what to say. Like that attack chopper, it really changes the game, and not necessarily a way that's good on all our maps. So we use it less, and we're not taking it out of the maps that's already in. We're leaving it in the game. We're not going to be featuring it a lot in the DLC maps.
And I don't know if that's something that people get confused about when they see the changes with attack chopper. I don't know if they don't realize that they're staying in the old maps and they're just not, being put in the new maps or not. But I mean, it's amazed me the last week on that Reddit post how many people have wanted to talk about the attack chopper.
Yeah, it's gonna stay. Like it's in there. If you enjoy using the attack chopper on Blood Money on Downtown or whatever it is, you will continue to be able to do that. It's just not gonna be like a big featured vehicle in any of the expansion packs. Like we had it in there. We played around with it. It's not like the worst thing in the world. I just don't think that it necessarily plays well with the hardline flavor of gameplay.
So, do you wish that it wasn't included from the outset?
I don't know. It's hard to play that game, right? Because
hindsight's 2020, right?
Year and like, and the other thing is like sometimes I'm here talking, but I'm very lucky. I get to represent a team of people, but it's not just my opinion, And honestly, right. In the end, my job, I'm the producer of this game. My job is actually to enable people to do their jobs. And sure, I get to make some important decisions, but it's not. Even when I'm making important decisions, I'm trying to, weigh out everybody's feedback and try to do the right thing for the game. I'm not trying to do, what I personally think. Me personally, if I was making a shooter, I wouldn't allow you to lay prone. That's my own personal preference. I don't like belly down boys. I'm not nothing against it, and it's part of Battlefield and it's part of many other shooters. But for me personally, I don't like that. That doesn't mean I would do that in a Battlefield game or I would do that in Hardline. It's there's a difference between my personal preferences and what the best thing for this particular game is.
See, and that's interesting that you bring that up because, throwing that other first-person shooter game out there, I used to hate the whole, dolphin dive and shoot from prone, but from a military perspective and, being in that role, I know that going prone is a huge part of any combat engagement. So that's something that I would never want to not see in a game just because it's very much vital in some instances, especially when you find cover. So it's interesting seeing your perspective of that, but it does, I guess, tend to slow things down and gives some people an advantage that, well, I guess, yeah.
I don't like
it's
it
all
not
preference.
because it's because my particular play style is like I'm kind of a run and gun guy, and so when prone is just bad against me because I don't see you because I'm running and gunning. I'm not really. I play like probably not the best way to play. I've never claimed to be great at the game, but I love running and gunning, and so yeah, the prone guys make me throw my controller sometimes because it's like it's the worst. I don't see those guys, and you just get popped. But it's my own fault. Like that it's part of Battlefield, and I'm not part of Battlefield is like knowing what you're running into, and
Yep.
I deserve those deaths, and I gladly take them.
But they're also easier to headshot too, because if you land a shot on them, it's going to be in the head.
I agree.
So.
I agree. And sometimes it works to my advantage. I'm shooting a guy and he like tries to go prone as I'm shooting him, and it makes me get the headshot. He forces me to headshot him. It's great.
There you go. So there is a positive to that. So hey, everybody, make sure to keep feeding those questions. If I don't get to them now, and don't spam, but if they keep popping up, I will definitely get to them. So we've got some other stuff coming out. There's a big announcement with some DLC. So what do we have in our future coming?
You mean Betrayal?
Betrayal.
Yeah. So they announced. I was looking on the blog just before we got on here. They announced the names of the maps. So we can talk about the maps a little bit. Those are kind of the biggest thing we'll care about. They also announced how many weapons there are, which is a ton, right? There's 7 that are part of Betrayal, and then I believe there's another. I'm looking at the thing right now. Sorry, there's a lot more that come with the base game. Another 11. So what is that? 18. I can do math. 18 weapons. Which man, we got so many weapons now.
Hey,
it's a lot of weapons.
Ash has been trying to get this question here from the very beginning. So throw that in there real quick. I see Syndicate gun right now. I know there's more to it. Ash, throw me that question up there real quick. So
I know.
Zach,
I already know the question.
Never mind, Ash. We're just gonna let Zach go ahead and answer that for you. Here you go.
He wants to know about this gun that's showing up in CTE. And we have a bunch of things in CTE. And CTE, people think that, I guess this is the thing, right? Is people think that, when we put stuff up on CTE, we're putting stuff like that's definitely going to be in the game, or it's definitely going to work this way or that way. He doesn't know what that gun is or what it's going to do. Stop asking me about that gun. People are bugging me about that gun. It's none of your business. That's what's up with that gun. it's like there's all this feedback on something that it doesn't exist. That thing doesn't exist yet. It just exists on CTE. Like we're fiddling around with some things. We try a lot of things. CTE there's like a dinosaur bike on that thing. Like CTE has some weird stuff on it. It doesn't mean it's coming to the game. Relax on that thing. Man, this guy blows it. It's not just him. There's like 5 people that just light me up about that thing. It's like, I'm not talking about that thing. There's nothing to talk about right now.
Yeah. All right. So there you go, Ash. All right. So moving back to Betrayal. All right. So what maps do we have coming our way?
Okay, so let's talk about the map. So what map have we talked about? I guess last time we talked about Thin Ice, right? The map. It's on a.
So that's the one on CT right now.
Yeah. So how do I let me put this over here? So
we have not talked about Chinatown.
Okay, so let's talk about Chinatown.
Chinatown. That is the big one right there.
I love Chinatown. It's a good one. So Chinatown may or may not be a tribute to a previously released Battlefield map.
Grand Bazaar confirmed. All right.
Grand Bazaar like Market. Man, we love that map, and It's not an exact one for one, but yeah, Chinatown is like our love letter to the Grand Bazaar, which was just, it was one of those maps. Grand Bazaar is a great example map of like what we wanted, the feeling we wanted to make with Hardline, and just that Grand Bazaar kind of played quick, and it had those like frantic firefights, and you know, sort of the lane style fighting versus the wide open fighting, right? Hardline does a lot more of that,
Yeah.
even in our big maps. Like you look at downtown, and it's, even though it's big and it's wide open, it's actually got a lot of, it's just a ton of different lanes and stuff. So we always love that map, and so when you're jumping in to make someone else's franchise, which is essentially what we're doing, right? We're jumping in and making a Battlefield game. You kind of want to have like some roots in that Battlefield game, and so you're obviously playing a ton of those previous games and trying to figure out what makes them good, what could be better, et cetera, et cetera. And that was one of the maps that we'd always come back to as a map that we really loved. So we may have written a little love letter to it with this Chinatown map. That might be a thing. And I'm not saying it's an exact one for one. It's certainly not. It was actually one of our hardest maps to build.
Really?
But you know, if you played Grand Bazaar and you play that map, you're gonna see. You'll see.
So this is going to be a ground level only map then?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're forced. Well, if I recall on Bazaar, actually I know for a fact
There's
there
like
were
one-
certain. Yeah, there's certain areas that you could get on the second level.
Oh, you can. I guess no. You can get it. There is like some second level stuff on this one. Oh, shit. I wasn't even sorry. Absent-mindedly.
Shaq.
Yeah. No. There's areas you can get up on this. Although I'm trying to think if there's. Now it's like hard to remember Grand Bazaar. I should have gone back and played it.
Yeah, everybody's bringing up the rubble and everything. And I remember that too, where you could just fire RPGs up in that center of that middle corridor and just collateral damage to the max.
I mean, we have the corridor still. We had to take out. I remember when we had the original layout, there was a problem with sniping, and there was a problem with like a perch that we had to limit access to. People just have to play it. It feels very, very similar. Look at the dog.
Yep. Pooch is behind you.
What game modes are we gonna find on it?
All our normal game modes. We're not adding a game mode with this pack.
Okay.
Just because like everybody, no one. It's hard to, like, you keep splitting our player base every time we add a game mode, and then if people don't play the game modes, it's like you just have people sitting in servers trying to fill that game mode. So there's a certain amount of like work that goes into making those. We put that work into doing some other things. So we made some like custom server settings, some extra custom server settings for guys, and then we used part of the work on that would have gone to game mode to add the outfit customization to Gunbench. So we kind of broke it up because just we were seeing that people weren't playing the new game modes as much as